Welcome to the Genesis Science Report. I'm David Rives, and tonight we are diving into new research that has revealed universal patterns between birds, insects, and bats that seem to indicate a blueprint for flight. We'll hear from a leading expert as we dive into the complex world of feather structure, wing configuration, and other biological mechanisms necessary for flight. Plus, don't miss our journey to the outer reaches of our solar system with astrophysicist David Coppedge. Has evidence been found suggesting Saturn's rings are much younger than previously thought? And how does this impact conventional theories about the age of our solar system? But first, the recent announcement from NASA regarding the opening of astronaut applications invites a wave of excitement and curiosity about the possibilities of space exploration. Now, for many, this initiative serves as a reminder of the profound connection between faith and the pursuit of knowledge. Matthew Fontaine Maury, nicknamed Pathfinder of the Seas, famously said, "The Bible is true, and science is true, and therefore each, if truly read, proves the truth of the other." Now, Matthew was considered the founder of oceanography, a man who studied naval meteorology and navigation. He charted the winds and currents of the oceans. He employed his faith towards understanding the created world and helping others use his discoveries to better navigate the unknown. Now, 150 years later, there are places beyond this earth to discover, unknown territory yet to be charted. As Star Trek declared, space is the final frontier. Curiosity and exploration are intrinsic aspects of our nature. It's instilled in us by our Creator. From the dawn of humanity, the desire to understand our surroundings has driven advancements in science and technology. And this innate curiosity reflects a deeper yearning to comprehend the world and the universe that we inhabit. The pursuit of knowledge, whether through space exploration or other scientific endeavors, can lead to a greater appreciation of the intricacies of God's creation. The vastness of space, with its countless stars, galaxies, and celestial phenomena, invites us to marvel at the complexity of the universe. But more than that, each discovery made by astronauts and scientists reveals intelligent design. Just recently, astronomers using the James Webb Space Telescope, people call it the JWST, discovered an entire galaxy, and it was dubbed ZFUDS 7329, what a name, that according to their model of galactic formation, it was created without dark matter. Now, you may ask, well, why matter matters? But one source explains, according to the prevailing cosmological model, the Big Bang, dark matter halos played a crucial role in galaxy formation. Now, these halos formed around concentrations of dark matter, pulling in surrounding gas and dust from the early universe. Over time, these gas clouds collapsed to form stars, eventually leading to the creation of galaxies. I mean, it almost sounds like how you would start a fairy tale. But you see, if massive galaxies, like the new James Webb discovery, existed without the gravitational influence of dark matter, well, then that kind of means that the Big Bang cosmological formation models need a reboot. Maybe these galaxies were formed in a different way. What about an intelligent creator? Studying the formation of stars and planets, or understanding the fundamental laws of physics that enriches our understanding of the universe, but by extension, it also enriches our understanding about the nature of God Himself. However, while the pursuit of scientific knowledge is commendable, it's crucial for scientists and believers alike to maintain a sense of humility about it all. Good science is characterized by an openness to follow evidence, a trait that has led to significant discoveries throughout history. Evidence like this galaxy challenges the Big Bang, and yet many people still struggle to acknowledge a creator or even the concept of intelligent design. As we delve deeper into the cosmos, there are areas that remain beyond our current understanding. I'm not saying we'll never figure it out, but this acknowledgement is not a failure either. It's not a God of the gaps argument. Instead, it's a recognition of the current limits of human comprehension. Now, it's essential to embrace the unknown with patience and accept that some questions, may not have immediate answers. And more, the mystery surrounding certain aspects of astronomy can serve as an invitation to deepen our faith. Just as we seek to understand the universe, we can also recognize that some elements of creation may be designed to cause us to ponder, to explore, encouraging us to trust in God's greater plan. The act of exploration, whether it's through scientific inquiry or spiritual reflection, can lead us to a more profound appreciation of the divine. As we celebrate NASA's call for new astronauts, Christians are reminded that our quest for knowledge is not in opposition to our faith, but rather an extension of it. Each step into the unknown can be viewed as a step closer to appreciating the Creator and uncovering the very fingerprints of God's design. Coming up, how does Jupiter give off more heat than it receives from the Sun? Well, I'll be tackling this viewer question after the break, so stick around. We'll be right back. Friends of Genesis Science Network, we started this channel to make an impact in the lives of both Christians and inquiring skeptics around the world. It has done that in unbelievable ways. Now, one of our viewers wrote, "I've been watching your channel for nearly a week now, and I would like you to know the blessing that it's been to me. I've never had the finances or the opportunity to attend a university, but I've been a believer for the last 37 years. Your channel has done more for my understanding of my faith than any book I've read save the Bible, and I feel like I'm finally able to attend the lecture classes I've always wanted to. Thank you so much for your ministry." I want to thank you for your generous support. GSN is no simple project and requires monthly commitments to keep it on the air. Please consider becoming a partner with us today. Just call 931-212-7990 or click Give on our website. We are making a difference. I'm David Rives, and you're watching the Genesis Science Network. The work of his hands. Let's look at photography of the Earth from space with a NASA astronaut.
We orbit the Earth 16 times a day. My cumulative time in space is 534 days, so I'll let you do the math.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
What the message we hear, there's absolutely no conflict between science and Scripture.
Absolutely. On wonders without number. Back for the Genesis Science Q&A. This week's submission comes from Facebook, where John Cudworth wrote in asking, "Greetings, David Rives and Ministry folks. I'm in groups with amateur astronomers, and there was an outbreak of storms on Jupiter that looked like white spaghetti. Never saw things like that before. Do you have any insight on why Jupiter gives off more heat than it receives from the Sun every year? Maybe from radioactive decay or slowly shrinking and compressing?" Thanks for the question, John. So yeah, Jupiter is actually fairly cold on the surface, but the deeper you go, the more pressure and the more heat. It's a gas giant. So it's a massive planet, and there's a lot of pressure from the gases being compressed. So if you go deep down in the planet, it's way hotter than the surface of the Sun. But this speaks to its relative youth. You see, there's this problem within cosmology where whether it's the magnetic fields of Uranus and Neptune, whether it's the rings around Saturn, or whether it's the heat that Jupiter gives off, it questions, well, how could it survive if the universe formed by a Big Bang billions of years ago? Here's the problem. Jupiter is giving off about twice as much heat as the Sun can provide for it. So, I mean, hey, this could work for thousands of years maybe without Jupiter running out of heat energy. But not for the millions, are the supposed 4 billion years that some people say Jupiter's been around for. So now there needs to be a mechanism to either reheat the planet over time, or else it was created more recently than previously believed. Maybe by a God who knows what he's doing, and he's left these clues for us to figure out how he formed the universe all around us. Now, if you have questions that you'd like me to address, I want you to share them with us on social media or email them to us right now. Pull out your phone, comments at genesissciencenetwork.com. We would love to address it in a future episode. Now, for those who found this week's Q&A fascinating and are interested in learning more about our solar system and the cosmos around us, I highly recommend Dr. Jason Lisle's comprehensive book, The Stargazer's Guide to the Night Sky. Explore the night sky. You can identify stars, constellations, and even planets. You can stargaze with a telescope, binoculars, or even your naked eye. Now, Dr. Jason Lisle guides you in examining the beauty of God's creation with 150 full-color star charts. And my favorite part about this whole book, check this out. Right in the back, you get a planisphere tucked into the back of the book that you can pull out for any time of the year and figure out exactly what's up in the night sky. You can really encourage your hobby of stargazing with this book. The Stargazer's Guide to the Night Sky offers everything you need to explore the remarkable beauty of the stars and so much more. Dr. Jason Lisle, a research scientist with a master's and PhD in astrophysics, provides a very thorough, practical, and easy-to-read resource to fuel the curiosity of amateur astronomers ages 10 to 100. To purchase your copy of The Stargazer's Guide to the Night Sky, visit the Creation Superstore online at creationsuperstore.com or call 931-212-7990 to get your copy today. And we're jumping over to the Kids Corner. Tonight's topic, I don't know, how do you feel about spiders? Do you like them, or are you like most people that they really don't care for them? Some people are so afraid of spiders that they have what's called arachnophobia, literally an intense fear of spiders. Now, while most of us probably don't want spiders running around our homes, they're actually an important part of the outdoors. They help to maintain the balance of nature. Without spiders, insects of all types would be much more common. But spiders help keep the insect population down. There are more than 50,000 different species of spiders. I'm holding one here. You're about to see it right now. This is a little intimidating. Check out the size of this. These spiders range from very tiny, almost microscopic, all the way up to this giant bird-eating tarantula spider. Now, all spiders are classified as arachnids. They have 8 segmented legs, no antennae, whereas insects have 6 legs and do have antennae. But there are a lot of other differences between insects and spiders. Those are just some of the most obvious. Now, I'm holding a variety known as the Goliath bird-eater tarantula, one of the largest spiders. Despite the name, they actually rarely eat birds, but instead they prefer small lizards and frogs, rodents, they'll eat worms, they'll eat insects. But still, that's a pretty scary spider, isn't it, right? So what would be the enemies of a huge spider this big? Well, humans, of course, are able to kill them, and they will bite you if they feel threatened. They're mildly venomous, so between the venom and their sheer size, most creatures are going to leave these guys alone. But one creature that can take on even large spiders is this tarantula hawk. No, it's not really a hawk. It's actually a large species of wasp. Now, scientists say that of all insects, the sting of the tarantula hawk is one of the most painful. They say that only the bullet ant is more painful. But the tarantula hawk wasp will sting the tarantula, which paralyzes, but it doesn't kill the spider. Then this little wasp lays a single egg on the body of the spider, which is then dragged to the wasp nest to serve for food for the newly hatched larva. But due to the painful sting of the tarantula hawk, most birds and other creatures avoid them. But guess what? The roadrunner is one bird that can successfully capture and eat this thing. So we see that spiders eat insects, wasps eat spiders, and birds eat wasps. Our God has wisely created this beautiful order that provides balance in nature among all of His creation. Up next, Professor Andy McIntosh is joining us from the UK to bring his expertise to the table and discuss a recent study on flight mechanics and its universal implications. It's set to be an illuminating dialogue, so stay tuned. Squids in limestone in the middle of the Grand Canyon.
But the big problem is, how did those fossils get deposited in the middle of a 7-foot thick layer? According to the narrative, is something like 36 million years in duration. I'm replacing the narrative with some type of rapid smothering event.
On Wonders Without Number. Tune in to the Genesis Science Network Knowledge Block as you learn real, cutting-edge science, not evolutionary theories and agendas. Whether you're in junior or senior high, a homeschooler, or an adult looking for higher education, we bring you a fresh perspective each weekday. Our goal is to equip you with another block to build and strengthen your faith, giving you solid evidence. Join us each weekday at 11 a.m. Central. I want to thank you for supporting GSN this year. Your support is helping us send this broadcast to millions of households around the globe. You know, in a society where the theories of Darwinian evolution are bombarding our youth via schools and universities and through peer pressure, we need to saturate the airwaves with the truth of real biblical science, and you are making this happen. Your one-time, monthly, or generous end-of-year tax-deductible love gift keeps this network streaming 24/7 at no cost to our viewers. Thank you for your support. I'm David Rives. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God. Welcome back to The Report. We are shifting gears to the fields of engineering and mathematics as we explore the intricate mechanisms behind avian flight. The research that we're looking at tonight was actually published last June by scientists from Roskilde University in Denmark. Now, using data from birds, insects, and bats, they were able to derive a universal formula correlating a creature's wing-fin oscillation frequency with its body mass and its wing area. Now, those findings actually highlight the existence of a universal design blueprint that can be seen across a diverse spectrum of winged creatures. To help flesh out the research further, I'm pleased to welcome Professor Andy McIntosh. Dr. McIntosh holds an emeritus chair in thermodynamics at the University of Leeds and is an adjunct professor of engineering at Liberty University in Virginia. Now, over the past 40 years, Professor McIntosh has dedicated his career to researching and lecturing on mathematics, combustion, and aeronautics, writing over 200 academic papers in addition to numerous books. I've had him as a guest on my programs a number of times, all the way from across the pond. Dr. McIntosh, welcome to The Report.
Very good to be with you again, David.
It is great to have you on. Andy, to start off with, could you just explain briefly the fundamental principles of how birds can fly?
Well, you've got the Wright brothers, right, who proved that by copying birds, they could actually make a heavier than air machine with engines, of course, and that was 17th of December 1903. And they were copying the birds. Birds basically do the same. You've got a picture here of a wing for birds, but of course their wing is made of feathers. Unlike if you go back to the Wright brothers, when the Wright brothers did all their work, they were making a wing of canvas. But frankly, the birds do it far better. Here's a kingfisher taking off from the water, and it's showing superb aeronautics. That's a small bird. It's a European kingfisher. But if you look at an eagle, right, birds are actually curving their wings by operating muscles to change the shape of their wings. Wow. Very similar to what the Wright brothers, of course, did, but no longer do aircraft do that. They don't use canvas over a wooden frame. They, of course, change the shape in a rather crude way. It works by putting flaps and forward flaps down. So basically, everything comes down to the ability, David, to change the shape of the wing. And that's what birds do superbly.
They do. And of course, we've been able to make mechanisms, flaps, in order to sort of change the position on some areas, right? But at the same time, feathers are so much more well designed. When you think about the way a feather is designed and then the individual muscles that allow birds to adjust those feathers so you get just the perfect amount of lift or whatever it might be. Talk about their hook and loop design. Talk about the way that feathers are put together, which makes them both aerodynamic, many times waterproof and windproof so that they can generate lift.
Yeah, maybe you could put up the slide I've got of that system where you've got the barbs coming from the rachis, and in my screen, I'm actually showing you this is a flight feather from a buzzard. Exactly the same principle as what I've just shown you, but I'm going to show you dynamically. If I separate the barbs on this feather, right, you can see that I've separated it. I'll just hold it up a bit higher so you can see. Now, if I put my finger and my thumb over it, I can make those barbs come together, right? Now, I love to say this to children, by the way. I love getting the children up to show them this. It looks like magic, but what's really happening is that you've got the barbs coming out, which I just showed you for a buzzard feather. And in between the barbs, David, you've got barbules. And this is the important point. On my picture, as you come down from the stem, or we call it the rachis, left-handed barbules on that picture are hooked. Right-handed barbules coming from adjacent barb have ridges on. So you've got something like Velcro here. You've got the hooks sliding over the ridges, which means that adjacent barbs, like I'm showing you on this feather here, adjacent barbs are actually made to hook together, which is frankly astonishing, because it means that on my earlier picture, left-handed barbules, the mini barbs as it were, have to have hooks on, and right-handed barbules have to have ridges on. Yeah. There's no way evolution could have designed that.
Absolutely. This study, I've got something printed out from phys.org. It talks about flapping frequencies of birds, insects, bats, and whales predicted with just body mass and wing area. Now, I'm going to go through a few things, and I want you to comment on it. When I see the words predicted, it means that for something to be predictable, it needs to be organized, it needs to be orderly, it needs to point towards an engineer. They speak about a natural resonance frequency. Natural, which means that it's working with physics, but then where did the physics come from in the first place? They talk about plotting predictions on a graph, and it is so remarkably close to the line that they were expecting. They mention that this frequency shows little variation despite, and I'm going to use that word, I'm going to highlight it very carefully, despite huge differences in their evolutionary history. In other words, even though these things must have evolved over long periods of time and they have complete separate histories between birds and insects and other flying things and all of that, somehow it just all seems to fit. Talk about this study for a moment.
Well, that then means that what they're showing is that for any weight of a creature, it needs a certain lift. So if you've got tiny insect, obviously it doesn't need a huge amount of lift, but it needs to be linked with the area of its wings. So there'll be a relationship between the weight and the area of the wings that they've got and the lift that, of course, that they achieve. And this is well known. It's an aeronautical principle that the coefficient of lift, we call it, is the coefficient is the lift force divided, or lift times the area of the wing divided by a half rho v squared times, it's the lift force divided by a half rho v squared times the area. So obviously, if you're traveling at a lower speed, everything is actually in a lower lift condition, but the coefficient of lift must always be roughly the same for the same speed. So that's really what that piece of work will be showing. And you can almost predict, because of the design features of wings, what the lift necessary for a particular creature of a particular weight is going to be, because you know roughly what speed it's going to be flying at.
And
so
that's design again.
Really what that paper will be doing.
Yeah, it's all pointing towards design and the idea that if things are orderly, then we will see patterns even across multiple different types of animals, whether it's an insect or a bird or even the fin of an animal underwater. Lastly, I just want you to spend a couple of seconds, given your research in flight mechanics, in design, in flapping micro air vehicles, and all of these things that you have been researching over the years, in the thermodynamics of things like different insects, all of the things that you've been able to study, what should we take away from the design we see within avian creatures?
I think the biggest feature is what I've just said about the way feathers hang together. Yeah. But I could say other things. The breathing mechanism of birds is absolutely staggering. It's a two-stroke breathing system. They take two breathings in and out to get one packet of air round their air sacs, and then coming through the lung. It's a continuous flow lung. It's utterly remarkable. Reptiles and mammals don't have that. They also have a supracoracoideus muscle, which is an extra muscle for pulling up the wing. And that muscle is absolutely essential for taking off from ground. 100%. We've talked about migration. That's yet another feature which I could talk to you for an hour on, but I won't now.
I would love to have you back to discuss some of these things in greater detail.
I would love to come. I'd be happy to do so.
Dr. Andy McIntosh, thank you so much for joining us today.
Lovely to talk to you again.
Yes, sir. Well, we've heard from the expert. Now, it is your chance to weigh in. Viewer voices are coming up right after the break. Hi, I'm David Rives, and I'm inviting you to visit the Creation Superstore, the largest Origins-related store in the world. Not only will you find every book and video title on creation versus evolution, science, but also every resource that teaches us about our origin and how it all takes us back to Genesis, a grand designer, the God of the Bible, and ultimately, yes, the gospel message. Documentaries your family can trust, fossils, teaching videos, children's books, church Bible studies, homeschool supplements, and expert scientific literature. If you can't find a title, call us up and we'll add it. Normally, you'd have to visit dozens of sites to gain access to all of the titles that are out there, and then you would be at a loss to whether the book or video was worth the purchase. But not here. We've curated the best of the best into top 10 lists. And on some of my favorite products, you'll find the Rives rating, where I help guide you on the best resources available for not only those who love history, biblical studies, and creation science, but also great products at the layman level, easy to understand for those who are learning or want their children and grandchildren to be exposed to a biblical worldview. Just look for the Rives rating to find my personal favorites. Use the search bar to look up a topic or follow our menu to sort by ministry, subject, or author. Give us a call at 931-212-7990 as you're browsing. We have ministry volunteers who will do their best to assist you at all hours of the day and even help you place your order. Yes, a real person. Get ready for a secure shopping experience brought to you by the leaders of creation-based research. Your purchase goes towards ministry outreach and also supports the authors and organizations who publish the material, most of whom are personal friends and colleagues of mine. I'm David Rives. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God. And welcome back to the show. It's time to dive into the mailbag for this week's Viewer Voices. Our first testimonial is from Holly, who had this to say after visiting the Wonder Center. She said, very fun and educational. The staff was super friendly and we really enjoyed ourselves. The planetarium and the Tesla coil alone are worth the visit. The scavenger hunt for the kids is a great idea. Our son really loved hunting for all of the answers and getting his special prize at the end. Holly, thanks for that comment. The scavenger hunt is one attempt to really get kids to engage in all of the activities. There's tons of kids' hands-on stuff, but we also want them to come away learning from this experience. And the prizes, if you get the scavenger hunt right, those are fairly enticing. So thanks, Holly. Our second comment comes from Daily Dose on YouTube, who watches GSR. They said, another great episode. Have truly been enjoying these reports and have been learning so much about science. I love it. God bless. Thank you, Daily Dose, for that. Please keep those comments coming in. Please share with your friends and family about GSR. Tell them to tune in every week. Now, if our outreach has had a positive impact on you or a loved one, I'd invite you to share your story with us on social media or email us with comments. Just email comments@genesissciencenetwork.com. And now it's time to transition to the Genesis Science Minute. Grab your microscopes because tonight we're zooming in on the marvels of human DNA and how its function reflects the ingenuity of God's design. Let's take a look right now.
Deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA, can be expressed as a written language that creates the blueprints that makes you who you are. Geneticists tell us that there are trillions upon trillions of combinations and that our DNA was formed at the time of conception. You were your own human being, not just from birth, from day one. If written out, our DNA sequence would fill up 1,200 large books and is found in nearly every cell of our bodies. That means that there's enough information in each of us right now to fill every book in the Library of Congress. All 35 million books. Everything about you is known by your Creator, the God of the Bible. You were fearfully and wonderfully made, not just another animal in a long chain of death and evolution, a human being made in the image of God. I'm David Rives. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God.
For more information, visit David Rives Ministries at davidrives.com. DavidRives.com.
And we are back with another ministry update. It's been a busy few weeks here at the Wonder Center, filled with community-enriching outreaches and events. We recently hosted my friend, Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter Michael Booth for a phenomenal performance here at the Wonder Center. In addition to showcasing his musical talent on stage, we were also able to sit down for an episode of Changing the Narrative to talk about the life-giving gospel message behind his lyrics. I loved the candid discussion, the thoughtful insights into his personal journey in music and faith. And I also loved being able to have him on stage to share his talent. You know, it's always a blessing to talk with fellow believers who are committed to using their gifts to spread God's word. I encourage you to check out the full episode on YouTube and also to subscribe to our channel for updates. Speaking of spreading God's word, I've been given the opportunity to share the wonder and joy of creation for a number of years in Sacramento, California. I'll be back again on February 22nd at William Jessup University. You need to save your spot right away. I think last time we had over 800 people there, so visit our events page at davidrives.com for more details and to register. Closer to home, I'll also be speaking multiple times at First Baptist Morristown, Tennessee on Sunday, January the 19th. So make sure to come say hello. Again, more details on our website. Witnessing the Holy Spirit at work through these different opportunities and events is always so encouraging. And that brings me to a testimony. Thanks to your generosity, we were just able to partner with a local public school and provide free tickets to a large class of students who came. They were able to experience the Wonder Center. I mean, it was incredible to see these children discover the wonders in every field of science, a testament to the impact of your support. And this experience underscores the importance of your continued partnership. These are the kind of things that you are allowing to take place. So for those who want to help us continue to share the gospel and spread the truth about God's creation, we invite you to join our World Changers program. For just $39 a month, you provide 3 free museum tickets to families and individuals who otherwise they might not be able to visit. To make a tax-deductible contribution and learn more, visit davidrivesministries.org, or if you want to be a part of the World Changers program, just call us at 931-212-7990. And while you're at it, make sure you're signed up for our free bi-monthly Creation Club magazine. I think you'll enjoy it. Next, we're going to swing over to this week's Heavens Declare to marvel at the amazing world of monkeys. That's right. From the sophisticated social structures of baboons to the acrobatic agility of bush babies, those tiny little creatures. I want you to join me as we uncover the intricate design behind these playful primates. Let's take a look right now.
Today, we're in the heart of Africa's rich and diverse land to meet some of the most fascinating and playful creatures that you'll ever see, monkeys. Now, I've got to tell you, when I look at these incredible animals, I can't help but mention that they're pretty adorable too. There are over 100 different species of monkeys in Africa alone, each one uniquely designed to thrive in its environment. So let's swing into this and learn more about these amazing primates. Let's start with the vervet monkey. These little guys are common across much of southern and East Africa. Now, one of the most fascinating things about vervet monkeys is their sophisticated communication system. They use different calls to warn each other about specific predators. For example, it's said that they have one call for eagles, another for leopards, and yet another for snakes. Each call triggers a different response in the group, whether it's diving for cover or scampering up the nearest tree. Precise communication skills like these are surely more than just instinct. They have their own language, and language points back to the genius of a designer. Now, let's talk about the colobus monkey. These striking primates are easily recognized by their black and white fur and their long flowing tails. Unlike other monkeys, colobus monkeys don't have thumbs, only small stubs where their thumbs should be. Now that might seem like a disadvantage, but it's actually quite the opposite. Without thumbs, they can swing through the trees with even greater speed, and that long tail, well, it actually acts like a balance pole, helping them make those daring leaps from branch to branch. Everything about the colobus monkey is perfectly suited for life in the treetops. When you see them in action, it looks clear that they were designed with purpose and precision. And then there's the baboon, one of Africa's most well-known monkeys. Now, baboons live in large troops and are found across much of Africa, from the savannas to the mountains. These are powerful and intelligent animals, known for their complex social structures. In fact, baboons are some of the most socially intelligent of all primates. They have a hierarchy within their troops, and they spend a lot of time grooming each other to strengthen those social bonds. Now, let me be clear, this behavior is not just about keeping clean, it's actually about building relationships and maintaining order within the group. The intricate social dynamics of baboons are a sight to behold. Now, let's not forget the adorable bush baby, our galago. These tiny nocturnal primates are known for their big eyes, which help them see in the dark as they leap from tree to tree in the nighttime. Their incredible jumping ability, up to 7 feet in a single bound, that comes from powerful hind legs and specialized tendons that almost act like springs. It's almost as if they were engineered to be the ultimate nighttime acrobats, moving effortlessly through the dense African bush. Just think about the detail in their design. From the large light-absorbing eyes to their spring-like legs, it's a beautiful testament to grand engineering. You know, as we explore the world of African monkeys, we can't help but stand in awe of the variety and ingenuity on display. From the vervet's complex communication to the colobus monkey's aerial agility, each species reveals something remarkable. These monkeys remind us that the world is full of wonder and that every creature, no matter how big or small, has a role to play. So next time you see a monkey swinging through the trees, remember, you're not just watching an animal at play. You are witnessing a masterpiece of design. I'm David Rives. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God.
Guys, this was shot with 40 people that I took to South Africa. They joined me on an 11-day photo safari. It was our last trip that we made out there, and you still have time to join me next year. So if you're interested, go to davidreevesministries.org/Africa for more information. You'll want to get a brochure and a welcome packet and sign up right away. I think we're nearing half full already. So it's an incredible experience. They all had monkeys literally jumping all over them, feeding them bananas. We saw some ring-tailed lemurs and some other really, really cool things. So capping off tonight's report, we are going to hear firsthand insights from a former NASA systems administrator, David Coppedge, discussing the research in his latest article, Saturn's Rings Are Too Young. It's going to be a captivating discussion, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We know that you want to have a deep faith in the Lord and to witness to those around you. To do that, you need tools and information to strengthen your faith using scientific discoveries that prove the Bible to be true. The problem is that atheists using evolutionary theories claim that they've refuted the Bible's accuracy. What's worse, the real facts are censored. If you don't have a PhD in science, you're often left feeling helpless when trying to defend your faith. But you need to be equipped to know the truth. For that reason, over the past 13 years, we've become the most trusted name in biblical scientific research, interfacing with nearly every top Christian organization in existence to distill and give you the true facts as they support your faith in Christ. Sign up for our weekly emails and free bi-monthly magazine. Consider becoming a partner with us as we reach the world with the truth of the Bible and the gospel message. I'm David Rives. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God. Squids in limestone in the middle of the Grand Canyon.
But the big problem is, how did those fossils get deposited in the middle of a 7-foot thick layer? According to the narrative, is something like 36 million years in duration. I'm replacing the narrative with some type of rapid smothering event.
On Wonders Without Number. Welcome back to The Report. We are diving into the world of planetary science to focus on one of the most iconic features of our solar system, Saturn's rings. Now, new data has been published which suggests that these rings are much younger than most scientists had previously thought. As more questions arise surrounding the viability of conventional origins models, many evolutionists are struggling to reconcile their theories with the mounting evidence. Joining us today is David Coppedge, an astrophysicist who brings firsthand insights from his impressive 14-year tenure working for NASA's JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Now, he spent 9 of those years as the systems administrator for the Cassini mission to Saturn, overseeing the communication systems that connected Earth to the Cassini spacecraft. David just published a new article in the Creation Club magazine titled Saturn's Rings Are Young, where he breaks down data from several of the most recent studies on the topic. We are excited to have David here to discuss his research and some of the highlights from his article. David, you've been to Africa with me on photo safari and you've been all around the world, but it is great to have you back on The Report today.
It's good to be back with you, David. How are you today?
I am excellent. Could not be better. Listen, to start, what do you believe are some of the key forces that are contributing to the destruction of Saturn's rings? Because we see that this is one of those components showing potential youth.
Well, as you know, Saturn's rings are one of the most beautiful objects in the solar system, and perhaps you've photographed them yourself in some of your astrophotography days. Many people, when they look at Saturn, they are just so impressed. They have a jewel-like quality up there. And yet the rings are young. They cannot be as old as Saturn itself. And that's a new consensus that planetary scientists have come to, because there are numerous forces that are at work trying to disrupt the rings. One of them is just collisions within the rings. The particles jostle and bump against each other, and this grinds them down to powder over time. Another thing is there's gas drag. In other words, the outer atmosphere of Saturn tends to extend out into the rings and cause particles to lose energy, and that causes them to spiral into the planet. Another force is sunlight pressure, the so-called Poynting-Robertson effect you may have heard of. And this causes particles to lose energy, and so they'll spiral into the nearest gravitational well, which is Saturn itself. And the big thing that is causing the rings to decay rapidly is micrometeorites. In other words, microscopic particles are impacting the rings constantly. And at JPL, the instruments were able to actually hear the impacts of these rings, of these impacts on the sound of the impacts on the rings. And they produce oxygen that was a signature. So you could hear these constant pings of particles hitting the rings. And when these particles impact the ring, when these micrometeorites impact the rings, they blast off material, much more material than is added to the rings. And so one of the main papers that came out last year in 2023 in summer was that these micrometeorites are adding dirt to the rings. Now, the rings are very clean. They're almost all water ice with some impurities. But these micrometeorites are, dirtying the rings, basically, and collecting like dust bunnies on the particles. And so this should add up very quickly over time. In fact, if there were just 1 gram of material per square foot per year, it would be a substantial amount over 4.5 billion years, the assumed age of the solar system.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem once you start to stack on years. It's not really a problem for a young universe cosmology, but when we're talking about billions of years, everything becomes a problem. I love some of the verbiage in one of your articles here. This offers no hope for believers in deep time because it is a belief system. You mentioned multiple problems, but that all of these things are stacking up to constraining the age of the rings to a few 100 million years at most. Now, you mentioned at one point some authors have set upper limits of 15 to 400 million years for the rings, right? That's quite a discrepancy. That's not narrowing it down too much. But in terms of scientific estimates, how can we determine exactly how young the rings are based on research? You mentioned dust collecting within the ring. You mentioned multiple clues, but is there a way that we can really hone in on close ages for these rings?
Well, the ages that they're putting on the rings are upper limits. In other words, they cannot be older than 15 million or 400 million, whatever value you want to land on. But that's like saying, you know, a skyscraper can't be taller than the moon, right? In other words, the upper limit may be a ridiculous number. Yeah. And no, we cannot say that the rings are just a few thousand years old. However, we can look at the processes that are at work and determine these upper limits are actually far less than what they're saying. And so there were 3 papers in the summer of 2023 that agreed that the rings are young. Yeah. And I have a way of expressing how this is a problem for believers in deep time. I have a 45-foot rope that I sometimes take on demonstrations. In fact, I used this in a breakout session when we were both in Dallas last summer for the eclipse. And so this is, if this were a timeline, I stretch this out in front of the stage. Usually it covers the whole stage. And I asked the people, okay, on this 45-foot rope, how much does 100 million years represent? Yeah. And the surprising answer is just 1 foot. So, you know, just about this much on this rope is 100 million years. Mm-hmm. Okay, and 10 million is 1/10 of that. So now we're talking about just inches.
Wow.
And 1 million is 1/10 of that. So we're down to like millimeters. And so it becomes apparent very quickly that we're talking about just a tiny fraction. 100 million years is just a tiny fraction of the age that they assume for the rings. Yeah. And if this were the only thing that were constraining the age, it would be one thing. And yet there are multiple problems at Saturn and other planets on the solar system that have these upper limits.
Absolutely.
And we can talk about those.
But you have specifically been focusing in on, you worked on the Cassini mission, you worked with JPL, putting all of these systems in place. And even during that mission, you talked with some of your colleagues, with other planetary scientists, with those that you know, about this potential problem of Saturn's rings, didn't you?
Yes, I had contact with some of the leading planetary scientists. Now, I have to state clearly that I was not working as a scientist. I was working more as a computer technician. And yet, I remember having lunch with some of these people, and in their planetary science conferences, I would ask them questions and listen to them. And they were baffled by the age of Saturn's rings. They had no clear answer. I remember one ringmaster, I call him, the experts on planetary rings. I asked him personally one time why he was trying to get the rings to be billions of years old. And it was more of a philosophical thing. He didn't want to believe that humans appeared on the Earth in just the right time to see this beautiful wonder of nature. Wow. It would seem like we were living in a special time. And so there was a philosophical reason, I think, behind this.
Yeah. Well, you gathered a ton of data with the Cassini missions, with being able to get up close to some of those beautiful structures. But what kind of responses do you typically hear? You interface with a lot of people and present some of these challenges to old Earth or old time periods, long time periods. What are some of the responses that you hear when you converse with your colleagues on this?
Well, they they have to admit that the rings are younger than Saturn. There's really no argument against that anymore. Actually, there was a paper just a few days ago that tried to preserve them for 1 billion years, and yet they're ignoring the main problems. For instance, particles from Saturn's ring are falling into Saturn all the time. In fact, 10,000 kilograms per second are being lost from the rings and flowing into Saturn. That's enough to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool in about a half an hour. So you have this constant ring rain, it's called. And they realize that the rings are ephemeral. They cannot last for billions of years. And one interesting reaction I see often in papers and press releases is that they try to change the subject real quick and talk about, well, if there's water in the rings, maybe there's life there or something like that.
Yeah, a pivot is okay, and those are things that obviously we would love to discuss, but pivoting when the evidence doesn't quite support your paradigm is not going along with good observational science. It is simply diverting to other issues. I think we have to be intellectually honest and say that it's really time to rethink the age of all of the planets in our solar system, the age of the universe, the age of Saturn's rings, plus with all of the things when the magnetic fields of Uranus and Neptune are winding down. Everything is sort of capping limits. And I think it's something that it's really time that we begin to dive into and embrace. We need to change perspectives. David, you actually just had an article on the Creation Club magazine, which I cannot wait for people to read. I want to thank you for your expertise. And finally, last few seconds, what should we take from all that we're learning with cosmology now?
Well, like you say, the heavens declare the glory of God. And one reason they want to maintain deep time is because Darwin needs the time to evolve brains from bacteria. So if he doesn't have that time, then it's a strong argument against Darwinism.
And a strong argument towards the idea that we have a creator who has designed each and every one of us with purpose and has also given us the intellectual capacity to study, to send probes to Saturn's rings, and to learn more about his creation. Thank you, David Coppedge, for joining us today. And that is it. I want to thank everyone for joining us on the Genesis Science Report. And until next week, I want to remind you all, keep looking up. I'm David Rives. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God.